Welcome to the Rent to Rent Success podcast, the only podcast entirely dedicated to helping you achieve rent to rent success. We talk about the ethical way to get you started in property without buying it. This is our place to inspire each other to believe bigger, to be bolder, and to be game changers for good. Property investors and sisters Stephanie and Nicky Taylor are your guides on this exciting ride. Let's start up the engines and get ready to fly. Hello, hello, hello. It's Stephanie here. Welcome to episode 30 of Ask the Angels, where we answer your rent-to-rent questions. And if you'd like to have your question answered, go to renttorentsuccess.com/askask and record your question for me to answer here for you. Now, today I have a question that Sandra asked at one of our rent-to-rent strategy sessions. And it's such a great question. It really made me think. In fact, I was pondering for days to really come up with a few episodes that are going to be golden for you. So I've got so much material that I'm spreading it over 4 episodes. And I know these are going to be pen and paper episodes. I really love them. And here's the question. What are the biggest mistakes you see beginners make in rent to rent? I love the question so much that it inspired my talk at Rent to Rent Live a few weeks ago. And Rent to Rent Live is a fantastic monthly event hosted by Steve Curtis. You can find out more at rent2rent.live. That's rent2rent.live. I'm going to split my answer, as I say, into the next 3 episodes. So there'll be 4 in total in this series. But I'd love for you to do is to write down what you think right now, what you think are the biggest mistakes people make in rent to rent. And let's see if we get the same ones, if we match up or if we're different. If you can write, of course, you might be driving while listening to this. So let me know, DM me on Instagram. Let me know, do you agree? I'm Stephanie T Property on Instagram. So the number 1 biggest mistake I see is, drumroll please, lack of focus. I don't know if you would have predicted that one, but this is how it happens, what I see. When you get started in rent to rent, it's important to focus on it. It sounds so simple, yet so few people do it. It's easy to see why, though, because when you get started in property, you learn so much. Your mind is continually being blown by what people are doing and achieving, especially with little money to start. That really blew my mind. So you see a friend who's really flying with rent to rent HMO. Then you see someone on Facebook who's doing really well in rent-to-rent SA, serviced accommodation. Or you then listen to a podcast about somebody killing it with deal sourcing. And then you also want to get into buy-to-let, and maybe in the Northeast, where the properties are less expensive. And now you want to do them all. It's a natural human instinct. And there's no reason why you can't do them all. But what I say is, don't do them all at once. And people look forlorn when I say this and disappointed. But let me explain. Here's the reason why. If you're thinking of moving from just thinking about rent to rent to doing it and getting the cash flow every month, it's like building a bridge from one side of the river where you are now to the other side of the river where there's cash flow. This side is the idea, and every step of implementation takes you one step closer to the cash flow on the other side. And the only bridge that counts is the one that takes you to the other side of the river. Half bridges don't count. Quarter bridges don't count. If you take your time, your money, your energy, and you put it into all 4 of those things that I mentioned, you're trying to do HMO, you're trying to do SA, you're trying to do deal sourcing, you're trying to buy a buy-to-let. If you take your time, money, and energy and put it into all 4 things, then you can get your bridges maybe quarter of a way over the river. Each of the 4 is quarter of a way over the bridge. So you've got no completion. You've got no completion. You've got no cash flow. You feel confused and you feel stuck. Now, if in the same amount of time you harness all your energy and you focus on one thing, if you focus entirely, because my area is rent-to-rent HMO, let's say you focus entirely on rent-to-rent HMO until you get to property cash flow. You can build your bridge right across to the other side of the river. And things are so easy after that. Now you have the experience of success. You have cash flow. You have momentum. You're on fire. So, my friend, start with one bridge and build it until you get to the cash flow on the other side. That is the way to succeed. Even though you may want to do all these other things, you may want to do rent-to-rent SA, you may want to do deal sourcing, you may want to do buy-to-let. Start with one. And doing it all when you're starting out just causes confusion and overwhelm, and often it stops you from taking action. And let me just add something else on here, because another mistake that's related to this one, another mistake that's related to lack of focus, trying to do too many things at once, is just dipping your toe in the water and thinking, you know what, I'll just try it. I'll just taste it. No. To be successful, you must treat it as a must do, not a nice to have. This is how I want you to think about it. Imagine if you were told today that you must move out of your current home. Let's say there's an issue with it and it's temporarily uninhabitable. The important thing is you have to move. If you live with your family, you've all got to move together and you have to move quickly. There's not enough time to find somewhere to buy, so you're going to rent somewhere. I bet you're going to get straight online. You're going to get on the phone. You're going to get looking. You're going to get calling. You're going to call people you know and say, do you know of anywhere? If you don't get the first property you view, you're not going to say, well, this doesn't work. You're going to keep viewing and keep offering until you find a property for you. It's the same with rent to rent. Bring that same energy, bring that same intensity, bring that same knowing. Because if you knew you were going to be successful, you wouldn't give up. Renting a property is a simple series of steps, but you have to do it. You have to take the steps. You have to go all in. So if you're starting rent to rent right now, if you know you want to start, focus on one thing. If it's rent to rent HMO, focus on that. If it's rent to rent serviced accommodation, focus on that. If it's supported living, focus on that. Focus on one thing and go all in. These are the important predictors of success that I've seen from working with hundreds of people now. So in summary, the biggest mistake I see people make beginners make in rent to rent is lack of focus. Decide what you want to do first, focus on it and go all in. Don't dip your toe in, jump right in and go all in until you get to the cash flow on the other side of that river. Build your bridge. So thanks so much for asking the question, Sandra. And if you're in the Rent to Rent Kickstarter program with us, you'll have the Mindset Mastery Module 2 with everything you need to really focus and get the best results for yourself. Because we all know information is not enough. mindset mastery and the tools and community to go from procrastination to action taking is so important. And often as humans, we can't do it on our own. We need to work with others. We need to see people being successful to have that momentum to be able to keep going. So focus and go all in. I've loved today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it too. Let me know. Join me next week for the second biggest mistake people make in property. Getting started in rent to rent. I would love to know what you think it is. DM me on Instagram and let me know. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you so much for being with me here today. If you would like more, we've written the #1 best-selling book on rents to rent. You can find it at rentstorentsuccess.com/book. Reviewers on Amazon have described it as the best rent-to-rent HMO book and also as a definitive reference guide and inspirational. Take your next step today and buy the book. You can find it at rentsuccess.com/book. And I'll see you again next time. Until then, remember, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer.